coaching is about seeing the person, not the problem, not the story, the person, and inviting the person to see themselves. Coaching isn't just a profession, it's a paradigm. It's a way of living, it's a way of leading, it's a way of staying centered when the world moves fast. I feel we're not just here as coaches and leaders. I believe we are here as custodians of the future. I believe the future begins in the space between stimulus and response, and coaching expands that space.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the conference Roots and Wings by ICF Pune chapter. My name is Rajiv, and I have with me my colleague Rachna. We are volunteers at ICF Pune chapter and part of the team who has hosted this conference. Hi, Rachna.
Hi Rajiv, great to see you.
Before we invite our chapter president to the stage to formally inaugurate the conference, me and my colleague Rachna would like to make a few housekeeping announcements for the ease of using this platform. Firstly, we would like to urge everyone to abide to the code of ethics. By this, we mean we hold a space of compassion, non judgment, and support to all our co participants, speakers, and hosts of this conference. Krishna, about resources and leadership board.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Rajiv. Namaskar and a very happy morning, afternoon, and evening. And thank you so much for joining us from across the globe. And we're like truly excited to have all of you with us. So, coming to the resources section, just a small update. On your screen, you may see an icon with the shape of pages. So that's going to be a very valuable access for you. And there are certain resources that we have already embedded in the resources section. The first is actually our Roots and Wings coaching journal. So there is a PDF document that is attached there, and you can use it across the 2 days. Second, we have the LinkedIn profiles of the speakers. So you can know more about our speakers as they join us on the stage. The third most important document that you see there is actually a positive intelligence assessment that has been shared by one of our speakers today, Ms. Sophia Casey. Another interesting but very important document is FAQs. So there may be certain questions that you may be having. So please access the FAQs for a seamless experience. And last but not the least, we have the conference feedback form. So we would really appreciate if you can share your feedback, as it will help us improve the experience in the future. And in case you have a question for the speakers, then as you can see on the screen, there is a Q&A box. So please feel free to share your questions through the Q&A option. And we sincerely request you to share Q&A or comments which are specific to the conference. And let's create a very safe and connected space for everyone. The last most important update, there is a surprise. On the top, you can see an icon in the shape of a award, a prize.
Trophy.
Yes, it's a trophy. So who are going to be the lucky people who are going to get the trophy? So we'll come to know about that on day 2. It goes by the name of leaderboard on your screen, and we are looking forward to your active participation in making this conference engaging. So please look at the leaderboard and understand how to earn points in real time. And the top 5 winners will win some exciting awards at the finale. So, yeah, that's from me. Back to Rajiv. Thank you.
Also, I would request all of you to please keep your LinkedIn profiles, email IDs, and phone numbers handy because during the conference there will be a lot of networking opportunities that you will make new connections, meet new people, and you can share your contact details and keep in touch. For a long term. Finally, I would like to say that as a volunteer in the chapter, along with other volunteers, we have tried our best to bring this conference to you. There are always opportunities to do more and better, we are still learning. So we'll really appreciate that all of you are really kind to us and will give your wholehearted support to make this conference a great learning experience for all of us. With that, I would like to play a short prayer as we invite Jayashree on stage. Thank you so much. Enjoy the conference.
सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
Welcome, everybody. This is Jayashree. My name is Jayashree Kirtane. I'm a Master Certified Coach and currently serving as the President of ICF Pune chapter. So, Roots and Wings. Welcome to the conference, which is Raw Roots and Wings. So, you know what? One metaphor, many meanings and many interpretations. So, the first one that came to our mind was roots and wings. So, therefore, ancient wisdom from where we have all come from, and we carry traces of that even today, and the future that we are all building together, crafting together, and we are all marching towards. So, that was the first thing that came to our mind. The other meaning or other lens that we could look at with at the roots and wings is stability and agility in the same breath, seemingly two different, diametrically opposite concepts, but in the same metaphor. Another lens could be that our internal source of grounding our own energy, which is the roots, and also the external invitation, which is the wings, and the constant interplay between between these two sacred spaces. And today, the meaning of this metaphor that speaks to me is a place of refuge that gives me the freedom to fly. So I dare to dream because I know when I wish to and when I need to, I have a place to land. I have a place to take refuge. So that's the meaning of Roots and Wings that speaks to me today. And I'm sure each one of you, when you registered till then, till now that you're here, you must have all created your own meanings and interpretations of this metaphor. And that is our own truth, and each one is valid. Together, all of them are valid. So, welcome to this extraordinary gathering. We have got about 230 plus registrations, and as people wake up across the globe, they're going to join us. We have people joining in from 20 plus countries and 60 unique places. People who are already coaches, people who are exploring what coaching is, learning and development professionals, HR leaders, business leaders, and so on. Our speakers come from 5 continents. So we truly have an extraordinary gathering of people who are coming from all kinds of diversities here today with us. Each one of us has come here as an individual with our own strengths, with our own fears, with our own aspirations, and also our own baggages. However, what we are creating today, right here, right now, is a confluence of minds, a collective that we are collectively creating together, co-creating together. You know, you all have heard the Shanti mantra from Upanishads, the chant that was played just before I came on stage. I'm sure many of you already know about it. Maybe you already chant it every day. And some of you may be thinking, oh, did I really sign up for this? And where am I? And am I at the right place? So for those who are not very familiar with the Shanti mantras, I would just like to, share with you The meaning, as I know, I am no scholar. So, what the Shanti Mantra is telling us is let's all be protected, let's all be nourished, let's all work together with great energy, and let us all elevate ourselves to a place of brilliance and not have any hatred for each other. And then, Om, peace be with me, peace be with my context, and peace be with the world. So that's the reason the Shanti Mantra was played. I mean, in today's context, in current context, we all know that we are all surrounded by hatred. In spite of the, multiple heart emojis that we can just pull out at the click of the button, we feel isolated in spite of the highest speed internet that we may have access to. And often we feel full of ourselves in spite of the cognitive knowledge of the so-called as butterfly effect. So when we are living in these dichotomies and kind of getting pulled in these two directions, it may be a good idea to just center ourselves to the intention that we're all going to grow collectively and at the same time fortify our own individual spirit and capabilities throughout the conference. Of course, what starts with the conference doesn't end with the conference. In these 2 days, with our fantastic lineup of speakers who are knowledgeable, who come with their lived experiences, and who are wise, they're brilliant and they're wise. What can we really expect, right, from these sessions? I'm thinking that they're going to open up little windows to the external world, to the world that they have seen and probably I have not seen, we have not seen yet. They're going to open up those windows to the world which is outside of us. And we take in perspectives. Some might resonate with us, we make them our own, and we take them forward. Some might not resonate with us. We leave them here. Yeah? So don't worry, we're going to have a major sweeping operation after the conference is over. So if something does not resonate with you, leave it here. Don't carry it back. At the same time, while we are opening these external windows to the world that we have not yet seen, probably, I'm guessing it is going to be an opportunity to open up the little windows to our own heart and to let the light shine on places which are not yet discovered. So, can I be really curious to look at those places and say, didn't know this is how it was? And then decide, what do I do with what I see in those places? And while doing all this, I mean, this is all sounding very lofty, right? I mean, the windows to the external world, windows to the internal world. My invitation to each one of you is to just feel light as a feather that is ready to soar in the sky. So as we are spreading our roots like an old banyan tree, searching for more and more nutrition so that we get stronger and stronger, let our hearts be lighter. Let our hearts be warmer and be receiving to what we are saying, what we are seeing. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you. Let the festivities begin.
I think we must now invite our guest of honor, Shweta, on, and if you can introduce her and let's kindly bring her on stage, please.
Fair enough. So, ladies and gentlemen, and my friends, please give it up for our opening keynote speaker, Shweta Handa Gupta. So, Shweta and I, of course, we go back for at least 7 years. Since then, we've been kind of interacting, but started meeting only recently. So, Shweta currently serves as the chairperson of the ICF Global Enterprise Board. And this board actually provides strategic leadership and direction to all the other ICF family organizations.
So we're very fortunate to have a fantastic representation and blessing from the ICF in the form of Shweta. Shweta is also the co-founder of Quadra Brain Transformation Solutions, which specializes in making complex change simple. Yeah. Leveraging her expertise, and she's published research in business psychology and applied neuroscience. She's, of course, a master certified coach, and she was awarded the CEO of the Year award, and she was awarded the ICF Global Young Leader Award. So when she got it, she was the first, she was the youngest MCC I had ever known, I think back in 2017. So give it up for Shweta.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Jayashree, for that very, very kind introduction. I'm finally old enough that reference to my age don't worry me anymore. But thank you for inviting me here and just to open this beautifully themed conference that you have so graciously put together. I mean, kudos to the ICF Pune Charter Chapter for curating such a thoughtful gathering, one that invites us to hold both roots and wings in the same breath. Wisdom and possibility is how I see those two words. And timeless wisdom and timely courage is what the world needs from us now. So thank you for having me here, and hello to everyone who's made time to be here with us, to be here with me today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, based on wherever you're joining from across the world. It is a privilege to be here with all of you in this beautiful space of coaching, leadership, and possibility. In a time where speed often replaces depth and novelty distracts from wisdom, this gathering and the way it was described by the chapter feels like an act of integrity. And I feel we're not just here as coaches and leaders. I believe we are here as custodians of the future. That's the thought I took for this keynote, to be rooted in wisdom, yet shaping the future. So let me start with a little story. A few weeks ago, I asked a board chair whom I coach, "What's your root?" They paused, then quietly said, "My root is that I do right by people, even when no one's watching, even when it costs me." That's the root. Roots aren't goals or strategies. They are what we stand for, especially when things shake, especially when things hurt, when the stakes are real and the noise is loud. And this is a question I often ask now in boardrooms, in coaching sessions, even in one-on-one chats. The question is, what is unshakably true for you here? What's your root? So let's pause here for a moment of anchoring. I invite you to type one line in the chat, finishing either of these sentences. I stand for something over another thing. As an example, my personal root there is, I stand for integrity over comfort. So I invite you also to complete this sentence with your words. I stand for this over that. Or a sentence that simply says, my root is. And I'll definitely share mine with you too. So what are you choosing over what? I'm choosing integrity over comfort. I see progress over perfection there, compassion and justice, power of possibilities. Such beautiful words coming through. Thank you so much for sharing these. Stands for authenticity, responsibility over privilege. Such a beautiful one there. Authenticity over expertise. I stand for service. I stand for kindness over judgment. Thank you all for sharing these beautiful words with me. Our roots are not always easy, right? When I say I stand for integrity over comfort, or my roots, as I described that my root is love, humanity. And I remember a time not so long ago when I had to call out unethical conduct in a leadership team where I was serving. It wasn't easy. The safer option was to look away. It often is, right? The safer option is often to look away, to soften the truth, or tell myself, this is not my role, it's too disruptive. But I couldn't look away because you see, once you know your roots, you can't unknow it. And real leadership doesn't let you just look away. So as I'm reading and getting inspired by all your beautiful words there, evolution over stagnancy, progress over perfection, such beautiful ones. Take a breath as you read what others are writing, because this is what it means to shape the future. This is what it means to shape the future. It begins by naming what matters to us. It begins by standing for what matters to us. And in my opinion, self-coaching is simply the art of remembering our roots when the pressure rises, especially when the pressure rises. And thank you all for your thoughts in chat. And I invite you to remember your roots through this session and as we continue to speak today. Now, moving on from this exercise, lovely though it is, let me offer you another root and wing thought. And I got another favorite one, even though I moved on from that exercise Yogesh has shared, simplicity over intellectualization. Something I continuously struggle with. But another root and wing thought that I was sharing you was that possibility, because I did refer to our wings as embracing possibility. That possibility is not born of prediction, but from presence. Just inviting you to sit with that thought for a moment. Possibility is not born of prediction, it is born of presence. We are often asked to prepare for the future. But I believe a better question is, how do we coach the future into being? I'm going to invite you to stay with this and let me know if at the end of our little chat today, you have the answer to this question if you don't already have it. How do we coach the future into being? How do we shape the future? I've already shared one thought. Because the future isn't really a far off place. The future is tomorrow. The future is the next minute. The future is always here. I believe the future begins in the space between stimulus and response. And coaching expands that space. At a time when AI is writing poems and policies, when systems are failing faster than we can redesign them, and when more and more people, as Jayashree so poignantly described, are feeling unseen and unanchored, as coaches and as a coaching profession, we can order something almost radical. So people from my age group and later is not going to find this radical, but a lot of the newer generation that I work with finds the idea of thinking radical. And I think coaching offers us that, a return to reflection, a reclaiming of that pause between stimulus and response, to expand our thinking, to expand everything we're considering, a deep trust in human wisdom. a belief in thinking in an age where we love to crib about overthinking, but often don't think or reflect quite enough. I was once in a boardroom where the founder and CEO, brilliant, driven chap, had called a meeting to decide on a strategic pivot. We love these words, don't we? Pivot. Tensions were high, consultants had offered options, analysts had presented the risks, and the discussion was going around like it does sometimes in boardrooms, yeah, in circles. Something was off. I was the board coach there, and I asked, what is, I think it was a very root question, what is unshakably true here that is not being named? What are we not saying? You've noticed I often pause, and yes, I really love my pauses. That's what followed that question in that room, too. But there was the answer the CEO gave that has stayed with me. He said, Shweta, this move feels like fear, not service. As a group, they saw themselves as rooted in service. But that pivot they were so excited by felt like fear, not service. That one reflection changed the direction of the whole discussion in that room. They grew slower. The group grew slower, but stronger, more rooted. And as we look to the future, I think that is the kind of leadership we need. And that is the kind of leadership that I believe effective coaching makes possible. Now I'm going to invite you to move away from the distractions and the very wise chat box there for a moment. And let's zoom out. The world is not just changing, I think, it's compounding. Now, how many of you have seen those Bollywood movies or sometimes even movies from other parts of the world where this dashing hero or heroine is standing in the center and all the problems or the villains are approaching them one by one? Right? This guy is standing there fighting off the bad guys or the aliens, based on whatever the theme of the movie is. This is one person and everything comes at him one by one. As a child, I often wondered why they all don't come together. But if you've seen in movies, they always come one by one. Well, in the world that we're living in, change is not coming one by one. Geopolitical instabilities, new parenting challenges, AI acceleration, climate grief, identity fragmentation, performance pressure are all arriving together. Not in sequence like the movies, but in convergence. And in the middle of that, there's a lot of dialogue about coaching. In the middle of all that, the one thing that I see shrinking is clarity. And I don't just mean in theory. A few months ago, a senior leader, HR leader said to me, we've got 5 kinds of coaching, 3 tiers of providers, and a whole AI thing that we don't fully understand. Everyone's coaching, but nobody knows what coaching is anymore. It made me laugh. That description made me smile and sigh. Because when everything is being called coaching, how do we honor what we actually do, what it actually is? How do we shape the future, as I attempted to describe to you today? I think we honor the profession. I think we honor leadership by going deeper, not louder. By choosing presence over performance. By choosing purpose over positioning. By choosing wisdom over noise. By choosing roots. The reason why I bring this thought here today is most of the coaches that reach out to speak to me are more worried about performance. about how they should position themselves, about what they should be saying to the world. And I invite you for a moment to consider choosing presence, purpose, and wisdom over performance, positioning, and noise. I've often said this: coaching is not a luxury for the uncertain, it's a discipline for the brave. Because speed is seductive, complexity is exhausting, and most of our clients, from boardrooms to classrooms, are being asked to do more faster with less clarity than ever. And as coaches, we're sometimes getting pulled into the same traps. So I say, bring it to yourself too. Because I truly believe that the future doesn't just belong to the past, it belongs to those who can stay centered while they move. And that's what coaching helps us do, not just for others, but for ourselves. That's what coaching helps leaders do, helps people do. It helps us remember who we are while we shape the future. If you'll allow me, I'm going to, and honestly, since I can't see the audience today in this new platform, you don't really have an option, but I'm going to share something very personal with you. In 2001, I suffered a traumatic brain injury that wiped out most of my memory. I was in a coma for quite some time, and when I emerged, I couldn't remember my name, my family, my education. Simple words had vanished. I believe I had been a structured, achievement-driven person, but I was suddenly unmoored. It wasn't just a setback, it was a shattering of my life. I'd done all the nice tick in the box things that we do as good children. I cleared my CAT exam before the accident, etc., etc. Yet here I was with no memory of anything. But I think the roots or the seeds of my future profession were actually sown in those times, because in that terrifying void, something curious happened. I began to ask myself questions. And I've been told ever since I was a little child in class nursery, I've been asking questions. I was very irritating to my teachers, still am. I ask a lot of questions everywhere I go. But in that time of void, I began to ask myself questions. Questions became a way of reflecting, of making sense of the madness, of figuring out the world. I don't remember who I am. Who do I want to be now? What is still true? How will I get through this moment? What is the future that I want? When my roots weren't clear to me, at that time I didn't call it coaching. But looking back, it was my first experience of coaching as a way of being. Reflective inquiry was what got me through that time. Years later, in 2007, when I completed my first coach training while employed as a change leader in IBM, I realized there was a name for my reflective inquiry. It was called coaching. It was called self-coaching. That root, that power of reflection, even in chaos, has never left me. And that's why I'm such a proponent of coaching as the magical shaper of the future. Because coaching saved me even before I knew it existed. And I think at some point I realized coaching isn't just a profession, it's a paradigm. It's a way of living, it's a way of leading, it's a way of staying centered when the world moves fast. Fast forward to a few more years in 2010 when I became CEO at a very young age. I fully credit the fact that I was already a trained coach for my success. Because coaching had already taught me how to seek answers from others, how to not be the one having all the answers, how to not tell, but to ask. And the thought that comes up for me is that the future doesn't need more scripts, more models. It needs more sight. It needs more soul. It needs more sense making. And when I say it needs more sight, I mean foresight, insight, which is human sight, taking the time to see each other, truly see each other, and help each other feel seen. Our future needs more of that. And now after spending a lot of time with our roots and my period of being unmoved from my roots, let's talk about wings now. So by a quick, maybe a little thumbs up in the chat box or something, I invite you to share how many of you have heard this quotation. A bird sitting on a tree is never afraid of the branch breaking, not because it trusts the branch, but because it trusts its wings. I'm getting a lot of yeses and thumbs up coming in. So a lot of you heard this. A bird sitting on a tree is never afraid of the branch breaking, not because it trusts the branch, but because it trusts its wings. And now I'm going to invite all of us to take a moment. Think of one way that you're being called to grow right now. Think of one risk you want to take. Think of a future that you want to shape. Take a moment, think of these things, and I invite you to answer this quietly for yourself. If I trusted my wings, what would I do differently? So take a moment, write this down for yourself. If I trusted my wings, yes, just now, I invite you to trust your wings and write down what is one thing you would do differently if you trusted your wings. Such lovely thoughts coming up there. Go for the sky, let go of the branch, explore new areas, question my mindset and my beliefs. We have a lot of brave people in the room. That's your invitation today. Trust your wings. And here's the truth that came up for me as I read your beautiful answers. Wings aren't built by logic. Wings grow from courage. I'm going to leave this invitation with you. And now let me take you into a very different space. A space where I spend a lot of my time, so I keep taking you there. I coach a CEO founder who runs a global engineering business. Last year, he was in the middle of a very high stakes merger. Tension in the leadership team. Mergers can be difficult times. Legal complexity everywhere and a lot of fatigue. Right? Just think of that moment, imagine that moment. Sorry, I got distracted by this beautiful answer from Mel in the chat box. If I trusted my wings more, I would fly around the world and serve more communities courageously, compassionately. Well, I really pray that we all get to do more of that. But back to this little story. The question we asked in that moment of this CEO founder was that what are you holding that no one can see? A lot of you may have heard this. Coaching is about seeing the person, not the problem, not the story, the person, and inviting the person to see themselves. So the question to the CEO was, what are you holding that no one else can see? And his answer was, I don't know how to trust the future anymore, Shweta. And that's when we stopped everything and asked, what are we choosing? We didn't jump to action. We revisited the roots. We mapped the legacy. And from that space, the next decisions became clearer. They came kinder. They weren't easier, but they were wiser. The reason that I bring that up is to remind all of us that our wings grow from our roots. when we find the roots, when we take a chance on ourselves, as you said in the chat box, we grow wings. And that is the power of effective coaching, not to make life easier, not to offer easy models and action plans, but to help the people we work with make choices that are deeply theirs, that are rooted in them, in not just giving wings by speeding things up, but helping us find wings by deciding which direction is true for us. Because one thing I've learned in these journeys that I have been blessed to witness, something I often forget, is that we don't grow wings by flapping harder. We grow wings by learning what lifts us. And once more, I'm going to request all of you to take a moment, think about what lifts you. One or two words only, please. Please share what lifts you. What lifts me is collaboration. What lifts me is love. What lifts you? Smiles, service, kindness, love, faith and purpose, conviction, authenticity, truth, sincerity, contribution, commitment. Such beautiful answers. Thank you. Being authentic. Look deeply within yourself. Don't just look for a wise answer. Think to your best moments. What gave you wings? Faith, love, and hope. Love all the way, challenge, satisfaction, challenging environment, kindness, trust by others, confidence, so many things coming up. What lifts you? And that's how you grow wings. What lifts madness is practicing the presence of God, faith, empowering the underdogs. I'm so glad you're finding this selfless service. Remember what lifts you. It will tell you what your roots are. And connecting back to what we started with, when we can remember these roots in our moments of overwhelm, they will give us wings. Thank you. And I know I brought you with some stories. Let me tell you a story I love. Anybody who's attended any one of my other keynotes would know this is a story that I always love to share. It's a story of the forest man of India. In Assam, in India, one man planted a tree every day on a barren sandbar. Every single day for 40 years, one man planted a tree. Today, that forest spans over 1,400 acres. It's a living system. It's a breathing future. It's a miracle, a hub of biodiversity. That's the difference one man could make. And for me, all of us, every leader, every coach is that person, because we're all planting seeds. That's what coaching is. One tree at a time, one question at a time, one conversation at a time, one brave pause, one sacred silence, one breakthrough moment at a time. We are planting a way of thinking into people's minds. We are shaping the future. Every conversation, I invite you to consider every conversation that you have as part of your coaching, as part of your leadership, as a seed that will plant a way of thinking in people's minds. Ask, what are you planting? Because we'll plant anyway. We coach not just for outcomes, we coach for impact. We coach for generations, we coach for the future. Because I truly believe that the coaching of the future will not just be defined by how neutral we are, though that was one of the first lessons we learned. Coaching of the future will not be defined by how neutral we are, but by how ethically and consciously we shape the spaces we enter. I've seen this come true when coaching youngsters who are stepping into their life, founders exiting their life's work, global boards facing geopolitical complexity, senior leaders navigating layoffs. Those complex situations are not just about goals, they are moments of identity reformation. And coaching becomes a sacred space where we don't just find the answers and create our action plans, we also shape the thinking and the identity of the people that we work with. It becomes a space that holds truth, that holds dignity, and that holds transformation. And so let me close by returning back to you, custodians of the future. I think you're here today because something in you knows the future isn't waiting to be predicted. It's waiting to be shaped. And real coaching is how we shape it. From the inside out, from the root to the sky. Not just with frameworks, but with presence. Not just with questions, important though they are, but with care. Not just with credentials, important though they are, but with courage. We are the root holders, we are the wing makers, and we are together planting seeds of future leadership. We are together, this huge, huge community of coaches that is brought together into beautiful places by the chapters and the chapter leaders that so selflessly serve us as a community. We are together shaping the future we want to see. A future that's not asking for perfection, it's asking for presence. And I invite us, each one of us, to be the coaches, to be the leaders, to be the humans that the future needs. Thank you. Feeling privileged once more to be part of this Roots and Wings experience. Thank you so much. And please feel free, you've heard me for a long time. I look forward to your questions.
Shweta, as the questions will come in, what I want to ask you, so you've mentioned presence multiple times, right? And I think intuitively I understand. However, what's your definition of presence? When you say it's not future is not asking for perfection, it's asking for presence. What does that mean?
I'm going to ask, obviously, I'm very tempted to answer that. For wisdom in the chat box. For me, presence is really being present to everything that is true in that moment. To be willing to see all of it. To be willing to consider all of it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
To be fully present.
Correct.
To realize everything, to notice everything, to notice the ripples of everything that we do. To be shaping it consciously.
Any more questions from the audience? I can see
a lot of appreciation. Thank you for that. It's a blessing to always be here with a community of coaches shaping the future.
There's a question here.
Lovely. What practice would you suggest to silence the noise in the head? So I think a moment we've all struggled with, and I'll take you back to the question that I asked in the session. What lifts you? Think of that. In that, you will find the answers to how to silence the noise in your head. Because the things that ground us, the things that lift us, those are the things that will help us not get distracted by the noise. And it's not a one-time thing. Like I said, it's happened to me fairly recently. I'm distracted by the noise because I was going through a stressful time. But just going back to my notes and thinking about, what do I stand for? What are my roots? Because you see, the noise in our head is usually born of cognitive dissonance. It's born of something feeling uncomfortable, something feeling not right. And when you can go back to what makes sense for you, for what matters to you, it'll filter out the noise. And as Himani's pointed out, sometimes the noise is a nudge. And Gitanjali is asking, any thoughts on the role of courage in the time to come? Gitanjali, courage has forever been what brought us here, what holds us here, and what will take us in the future. Courage is what allows us to name the multiple realities that coexist. Courage is what allows us to speak when it would be easier to look away. Courage is what allows us to think beyond our own perspective. Courage is what allows us to accept that our truth is not superior to another person's truth. Yes, we need courage to show up in the world, but we need courage to truly see ourselves. And for me, courage will forever be indispensable. Though I hate to use extreme words like that. There was another question that came up on the screen. What do we need to let go of to make space for what's next? I think this changes in every moment. And this will be unique to every person. I know what I need to let go of. But if we see as a world, again, this is my very personal opinion, not a prescription, but it is my bias, that we need to let go of the adulation of fame and fortune and return to embracing wisdom and integrity. But that's my personal opinion. In a world where fame and fortune have become the criteria for identifying who shares wisdom with us, I see large groups being misguided. Let me not start on my pet peeve with influencers who have no concern about the impact they have on the minds of the people they seek to influence irresponsibly, to fill their rooms with numbers. But again, that's born of the society that we are in. That's why for me it comes up like that. That we need to let go of our adoration of fame and fortune and maybe go back to admiring simplicity, integrity. What else comes up? Expound on the shape of thinking. Well, Yogesh, for just an inside information, I have an unfinished book on this topic. I have 4. I can't decide which one to finish, but that's another story for another session. But think of this, the way we ask the questions up. May I invite Yogesh to leave the question on the screen? It inspires me to be able to see the question. Yes. The way we ask a question also shapes the thinking, and that's why coaching or any helping profession is an act not just of service but of responsibility. People come to us in their most vulnerable times, or even in their times of tough decisions. The way we frame our questions also frame their thinking. That's why so much of coaching focuses on not asking leading questions. But however neutral you may be, or I may be, if we haven't let go of all the biases, haven't expanded our awareness of ourselves, we pass those on to generations of people. When I ask a board leader to think of all the different perspectives we have to consider, I shape the thinking. When I ask that CEO in that example saying, what are you not saying? What is something that you're holding that nobody's seeing? I was shaping thinking over a period of working with people. You shape their identity. I invite you to remember a coaching session where you shifted how a person thought of themselves. Isn't that what coaching does? When a leader or a person comes to us feeling unsure and leaves feeling confident. When somebody comes to us feeling unseen and unloved and leaves feeling love for themselves. Consider, have we shaped their identity? Have we shaped how they're thinking of themselves? Have we shaped how they show up in the world? I hope that answers the question. My take on the professionalization of coaching. From the discovery, the mapping of the genome to the professionalization of coaching, I think everything has its advantages and disadvantages. I think professionalization of coaching has been very positive in a space where anybody could and can call themselves a coach. In a space where, like I just described, coaching is an act of responsibility. We can, with our judgment, psychologically block people. Untrained, I mean, I'm often asked another question, which I'm usually asked is, what do you think is the biggest challenge of coaching? And the biggest challenge of coaching is not even that anybody can call themselves a coach. The biggest challenge of coaching is poor quality coaching. Because poor quality coaching damages people, changes the perception of the profession. So to that extent, professionalization of coaching is very useful, that it helped us create standards. It helped us create an ethical directly. It helps us come together. I think the biggest power, it helps us come together to shape the future, to talk about the things that matter. But yes, like I said, the biggest danger to coaching is poor quality coaching, and it's not always delivered by uncredentialed. I mean, credentials are no guarantee. They're just an important step. They're just a step that ensures that there has been some rigor to your learning. There has been an expanding to your awareness of the impacts of coaching. But that continuous self-work and practice, the embracing of our responsibility as coaches, is for me what makes all the difference to this. So yes, I think the professionalization of coaching was needed, is important. It gives us a space to start from when we want to be coached. But like all such things, and every discovery, they're not an answer to all the problems. And even the most positive discovery or step is open to use and misuse. It is in our hands as custodians of the future what we will do with the responsibility that each client, that each person that comes to us for guidance is offering to us. So there were two questions that came back to back. I missed the earlier one. Would any of the tech experts helps me? Okay, my perspective, why the world needs coaching for the same thing. But I said coaching will help us reclaim the pause between all of the stimulus and the reactions that we are being asked for at speed. Coaching is needed now more than ever so that we can rediscover the power of reflection, the power of thinking, the power of making conscious choices and not getting trapped by our patterns. As a result of that head injury, I also spent 15 years researching the brain before I published my research, and I still continue to do that. You would not believe the amount of our reactions, the amount of our choices that come on autopilot. Coaching helps us discover, and in a fully automated world where, hey, sometimes the deepest conversation some of us might be having maybe with ChatGPT. Where judgment is at its peak, where it's so easy to claim one point of view, however amazing, as the best way to look at things. Coaching reminds us to truly embrace alternate ways of thinking. And that's why I think the world needs coaching more and more than anything else in this world. Hope that answers some of that. There was the next question there from Rajneesh, I think. What practices have helped me stay present in a chaotic world? Well, I don't always manage to do that, for the record. But I found, like I said, what lifts me is people. So, yeah, some of those people are in the room. When I'm feeling too lost, I call people who will help me ground myself again. When I'm feeling strong enough to ground myself, I take to pen and paper and my little diaries. A question that I love to ask myself that I always have is, what assumptions am I making right now? What could be true that I'm not imagining in this moment? Those two questions are my saviors in a lot of times when I feel overwhelmed. But like I said, when I feel strong enough, I go to my practices. There are some practices which are just a part of my life. My morning dhyan is a very important part of my life. My poetry is something that grounds me when I'm completely lost. But most of all, it's people, it's hugs, really. It's loving and being loved. Another beautiful question there. Oops, there are two now. How do we hold on to the belief in ourselves when we see everything falling apart? I'm going to come to that, but there's something from Amruta. What practices can help us calm the internal distresses? Well, we each would have our own. I've shared some of mine with you. I invite you to find some of your own. But in my experience, some practices that work for a lot of people is in the moment, deep breathing, dhyan or meditation. The reason why those two is because meditation can feel heavier. This you can do 1 minute meditation. You can do 30 seconds of meditation, and trust me, that helps too. Chanting in many languages can be very calming. Listening to sounds and music that relax you. And like I said, hugs work for me every time. I've actually done that in a crazy moment in conferences. In fact, there's someone here, and then I had a massive road accident, not massive, minor but traumatic accident where someone not just like hit my car but made a huge furrow out of it just before I was due to speak on stage. I went in, I met a stranger who's no longer a stranger, Bharti. She's in the comment section right now. She's in our audience today. That was the first time we're meeting. She knew of the context where I just had the accident. I was going to speak at a coaching event, and I just walked up to her and said, I need a hug. And that hug helped me. So, yeah, you've got to find your own. But yes, journaling, meditation, love, playing with children, going out to serve people for larger distresses. In the darkest times of my life, I've learned that serving others distracts me from my troubles. And before I know, I've made it past them. These are just some of the things that I found help. And I think as coaches, we're blessed because every day we have the option of serving others and moving away from our own internal distresses. How can we convince the young generation of breathing and meditation without sounding conservative? Make it fun. I do it with my nieces. My 6-year-old niece loves doing it with me. We play the right music. We think of interesting things. I invite her to go in her mind to her favorite place. It's usually the playground. Imagine that she's swinging on a swing. She loves it. And by the time they've done it 5 times and they felt so happy at the end of it, they will come to you and say, can we do that again? I think when we start believing there's only one way of doing things, of such things, then we can, kind of make it boring for people. But hey, there are cute ways of doing everything. Is there anything that I've missed? I try hard not to. When we hold presence, how do we fight the instinct to see the coachee move ahead? And I'm a person who says care for your coachee. I think that comes from learning to trust the process. Knowing that when we commit to presence, to non-judgmental acceptance, and to exploration, we will help the coachee move ahead in ways much stronger that we can ever imagine. So that question often gets answered as you commit to the practice of exploration in coaching. It always gets us answers. It always helps your clients move forward. They will move ahead. Trust yourself and trust effective coaching to help you do that. If somebody comes to you with a goal, one of the favorite goals people come with, I want to become a CEO in 5 years. I've heard that goal so many times I can't even tell you. Okay, what does success look like? What do you want to achieve at the end of the session? No. When somebody says, I want to be a CEO in 5 years, I was like, what does that get you? Why is that important to you? What role does being a CEO serve in your life, in your mind? That's exploration. And that's why I said when you commit to exploration, truly, at every step of your coaching, you will move your client ahead in ways that I can't even imagine sometimes. I hope some of these examples are useful to you. Are we running out of time yet? No, we still have time for a couple of more questions. If
Yeah, we do.
I think of, but we don't, Venkat. We don't. Like I said, the question Venkat's put up there is, how do you stop making assumptions? We don't fully ever do that. And please remember, our brain is also designed to keep us alive, to help us survive, and to serve us. So we don't ever fully stop making assumptions, but what we can do is become aware of all the assumptions we are making in any moment. In this moment, I'm making an assumption that I'm adding value to all. In this moment, I'm making an assumption that all of you are here for a purpose. There are so many assumptions. We're always making assumptions. The biggest assumption I'm making right now is that I'm making sense. So what we can do is just expand our awareness of our assumptions and try to notice where we can, how our assumptions are affecting the choices we are making, what we're doing, what we are thinking, how we're showing up. That's it. There's a beautiful thought there. We are so busy moving from point A to point B, we forget to explore. Not just in the coaching session. We do that in life too, Jai Shankar. We're so busy moving from point A to point B, we forget to explore. And thank you for bringing that to our awareness. And I leave you with the thought, how are you going to explore? We've been sold that, and we're being sold that have a clear goal and have an action plan towards it. Well, good. Have a goal. Yes, of course. Because having a goal serves you in another way. You subconsciously start to find answers when you have clarity on what your goal is. The trouble is when we start that whole knowing goal thing and mix it up with the hustle culture. That's the reason why so many of us aren't achieving our goals, because we believe hustle is the only way to do that. And I'm a great, huge believer in hard work. So just putting that qualifier there, it's just that I don't think hard work and hustle are the same thing. Because hard work can be with thoughts, but hustle often becomes mindless because of its pace. It isn't always mindless, but it can become that. So as you're moving from your point A to point B, I'm going to invite you to think a little more about what your point A is, what your point B is, why point B is important to you, and what do you need to explore to get there. I invite you to think about how, another thing I've learned in doing this work for many years, it's not just what we achieve that matters, it's who we become in the process of that achievement. And there's a beautiful thought there. And also think about whether point B is really the destination. Yeah. And I invite you, Jay Shankar, to not just think about the biggest impediments in your exploration, but also to think of the biggest enablers of your exploration.
I think
when coaches get an opportunity to speak and to share wisdom, we just can't stop, right? Finally, not just, I cannot just ask questions, I can answer questions.
No, this has been a wonderful experience, Shweta. Unless, of course, you spot any other comment or a question that you want to, kind of respond to. I think this has been a, lovely space that you've created. And my personal learning, I think, from, the way I've heard you today and even earlier, is the beautiful use of pause. So, your speech is elegant and your pauses are even more elegant. So that gives us the space to really pause, absorb, think, add something to it, and then listen to what next. Right? So I think it has been a wonderful experience, and thank you for accepting our invite. And I know that when such an easygoing style with packed with so much wisdom, when that kind of unfolds on the screen, I know there has been preparation behind it and a lot of it. So thank you for taking time and bandwidth for the chapter and for the audience. You spoke about the forest man. In fact, our gifts to the speakers of the conference are going to be at least 11 trees that would be planted for each one of you, and you're going to receive that certificate in your inbox.
Yeah. Thank you. Such beautiful resonance. It has been a privilege to be here, Jayashree, and thank you to all of you. Please feel free to, keep reaching out to me. It's just an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. So, Raji,
big hugs and lots of love. I can't end the meeting without that. Hugs to everyone.
Absolutely.
Now get me off stage, Rajiv, before I...
Rajiv is the boss man. He'll do that.
That's what I'm saying. Otherwise, it just won't stop.
I'm back on stage. I think I'm just going to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Guiding Light. Srikantan Kumaraswamy has been a big support to ICF Pune over the last year, and I'm really in awe of his work recently. In just this year, 6 of his mentees received the Master Certified Coach credentials. So, Srikant, I'm sure you're doing something really right. So, and thank you for supporting the conference. So may I request Rajiv, to play the video celebrating their firm. And once the video
in coaching, moments matter. The pause before a question, the light in a client's eyes when a new possibility emerges. At Guiding Light, we create more of those moments. Co-founded by father and son duo Srikantan Kumarasamy and Lakshan Srikantan, we are an ICF accredited firm shaping coaches with skill, ethics, and presence. From level 1 education to ACC, PCC, and MCC mentorship, to supervision, retreats, and masterclasses, we've mentored 300 plus coaches guided 30 to mastery, and this year alone celebrated 6 new MCCs. Our global community, the Coaches Circle, brings together 350 coaches for shared learning and growth. Our values: respect, authenticity, integrity, and excellence. Our promise: to walk beside you, holding the lantern steady, guiding light, coaching at its finest.
Thank you. Thank you. And my friends, as we are moving to the second session in a few minutes, may I request you to also access the coaching journal, which is a specially curated resource for this conference. I hear that it has not been created ever before. And I also heard from some of our speakers that all the virtual conferences going forward must have this resource for their delegates. So thank you for those kind words. May I request you to also, just go through it and use it, because it has a page for every session. We just had a fantastic session by Shweta, and just to capture your own insights, your own thoughts, what you want to do with what you just heard and interacted with. May I request you to take a few moments to fill in your own journal. Thank you.
Coaching is about seeing the person, not the problem, not the story, the person, and inviting the person to see themselves. Coaching isn't just a profession, it's a paradigm. It's a way of living, it's a way of leading, it's a way of staying centered when the world moves fast. I feel we're not just here as coaches and leaders. I believe we are here as custodians of the future. I believe the future begins in the space between stimulus and response, and coaching expands that space.